My name's Stephen Day, and today we're going to interview James McNeil Whistler. So, Mr. Whistler, where were you born, and where did you grow up?
I was born in 1834 in Lowell, Massachusetts.
And was your family from Massachusetts?
My father, I believe, he was in the Army, was an Army engineer. And my mother was from Wilmington, North Carolina. And then my father was commissioned to design the railway from St. Petersburg to Moscow in Russia. So I moved over there with my family around when I was 8 or 9 years old.
Okay, so how long did you live in Russia then?
I was there until I was a young teenager, and my father passed away while he was working on the railway, and then I moved to London.
Okay, so did you live the rest of your life in London then?
No, I returned back to the United States with my mother for a couple years in my late teens and early 20s.
Okay, now did you ever live in continental Europe?
Yes, I lived in Paris and in France for several years, and also spent a considerable amount of time in Venice.
Now, Mr. Whistler, we know that you're a famous painter. You know, you have some of the most famous paintings in the entire world, most notably the painting of your mother. It's commonly called Whistler's Mother. Wait, what's it actually called?
Arrangement in Gray and Black No. 2, Portrait of the Artist's Mother.
Oh, but much of your work is inspired by Japanese art. Did you visit Japan?
No, I did not. The Japanese art greatly influenced my work. We were originally exposed to it with my good friend Edgar Degas when we were young students in Paris, and we had created the fashion for collecting blue and white porcelains. And when we were unpacking these porcelains, we would find pictures of Japan and the wood-cut prints that they used as packaging material. And then we started to frame those and to use those images as inspiration for our own art, which can also be seen in all the French Impressionist works.
Now, Mr. Whistler, we're talking about cosmopolitanism in our class, and for somebody with a southern mother, a New England father, grew up in the United States and then Russia, lived in England and France, but whose work was heavily influenced by Japanese art, that seems to make you, I don't know, do you consider yourself a citizen of the world?
I do.
Okay, and now a cosmopolitan, we say that a cosmopolitan respects and loves mankind, but also loves difference at the same time. Would you say that you are a lover of mankind?
I would not.
Wait, what
I have a very fiery temper, and if someone comes across me or doesn't agree necessarily with my aesthetic views, or if he steals my aesthetic ideals, I will turn on him and be very vindictive. So I believe that I am a lover of all things beautiful and those who are beautiful, and can encourage and who want to foster the arts. But if they, I guess, cross me or go against my fundamental...
If they go against beauty.
If they go against beauty, then I will sting them.
Do you think that beauty is more important than people?
Yes.
So my next question was, cosmopolitans are not just lovers of mankind in general, but they're also lovers of particular humans. But I think that you might have already answered that question.
Yeah.
So your work is largely in the United States and in Scotland, but you never lived in Scotland. What's your connection there?
My wife, who I married late in life, she was actually the widow of my best friend, and her name was Beatrice.
Did that cause a scandal, by the way?
There was a little bit of one, but he was already passed away, so it's all good. And she has Scottish roots, and my mother, whose maiden name was McNeill, and that's where I adopted the McNeill as my middle name. My original name was James Abbott Whistler, and then I adopted later on the McNeill to have that connection with the Scottish heritage of my past and of my family. But I didn't want to have any of my works in British or English collections. So I worked with a collector here in the United States to buy up as much of my work as
Mr.
he
Frick.
could. Mr. Freer, Charles Lane Freer. And we conspired that he would have the collection of Whistlers, and that the the Whistler Museum would be here in the United States.
Now, what did you appreciate about Mr. Freer?
I appreciated about him that he sincerely loved beauty as well, and he's probably one of my dearest friends. And that he viewed himself as a steward, that he wanted the works to be shown in the best possible way. And if the artist wanted to come in and change things about the paintings, the frames, how they were hung or on display, he was very welcoming of that.
What's your view of art as property?
I believe it's still in my property.
Even after it's sold to
Even
somebody?
after it's sold, that if I want to change something, or if I didn't have the skill that when I was 30 years old, that I now have at 60 years old, I should have the right to go back and improve upon the works that I produced earlier.
Do you see your work as part of the property of mankind in general?
I believe that it is, that when we buy and sell art, it's not just for the object, but it's for the knowledge of a lifetime in which you buy it, and that's what the cost of art comes from. So it's this fact that we can live with this object for eternity, and that's the importance of art.
Did that aggravate your patrons who bought your art from time to time?
Yes, I was actually taken to court on 2 occasions.
And I heard an anecdote about this. You testified in court that your nation of origin was...
I did specify in court or state in 1878, when I was taken to court, I sued this gentleman for libel, that I was born in St. Petersburg, Russia. I don't really know why. But
Truly a globe-trotting citizen you are.
Yes.
Okay, so in the end, Mr. Whistler, I'd say that could we characterize you maybe not as a cosmopolitan lover of mankind, but somebody who sees something that beauty is something that mankind really needs, and
yes.
And in that case, beauty might in some cases be more important than individual people.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Do you consider yourself a global citizen?
Yes.
Do you consider yourself an American?
At times when it suits me.
Very pragmatic view, Mr. Whistler. Thank you for talking with us today.
You're welcome.